You know how many times I've seen somebody say something because they're mad, and the other person is now devastated by it forever because it was said. But they don't necessarily notice it was said when they were mad. It was said at 2 in the morning when they hadn't slept for 2 days, and they're angry.
Words matter.
Well, they do matter, but they also, the neat thing is we've also evolved a brain that also understands the context of the words, and the timing of the words, and the tone of the words, and the history of the words.
We're still thinking about that. Yeah, so words matter, but so do a lot of other things. And Studio 5 relationship contributor Dr. Matt Townsend says your conversations will improve if you pay attention to more than just their words. That little moment from last week's conversation sparked today's topic: 5 factors that impact our conversations as much as the words we say. Matt joins me to help us become better communicators. We needed more.
We need it.
You had us with that comment.
Well, yeah, no, you got my mind just turned on.
We've been thinking, and you've been thinking. You see there are a lot of moving parts to conversations, right? Words matter, but so do a lot of other things.
Well, yeah, and we hang on to the words like they mean so much, but we get very clearly, we get that sometimes they don't. Sometimes the words just mean, Mom, put me to bed.
Yeah.
I'm tired. Mom, put me to bed. I'm hungry. And so we give a lot of deference to a 10-year-old. But we don't give a lot of deference to a 50-year-old.
What is deference?
We don't like defer and reinterpret and give and just like reprioritize the meaning like we do with our 10-year-old. We don't do that with our husband. We don't do it with our wife.
Grown partner. But we should.
Well, we should, because otherwise, especially when the context shows that we should.
Yeah.
If somebody's really highly emotional and volatile, just the emotions telling you something. And it doesn't just mean that the words are accurate. A lot of times, I wouldn't trust the words half as much as I trust the emotion.
You say our goals for the conversation matter just as much as our words.
Just as much as the words. Is your goal to get him to talk? Is your goal to get something off your chest? Is your goal to vent? Is your goal to get to bed while we're still having a conversation? Whatever the goal is going to set you up. And what I've noticed is a lot of us don't actually go in and choose the goal and then choose the conversation that's best for it. We just happen into the conversation because we're together and he's sitting here.
Why not?
So let's talk.
I'm just going to throw this out there because.
So whatever your goal is will determine really how you end up going about doing it.
Okay.
But if you've never thought through the goal, and if it's the goal, do you want to get them on board with something, or do you just want to get them to hear it?
So is this strategy? Before I open my mouth, I'm kind of thinking, where do I want this to lead?
That's exactly right. And what's powerful, when I sit down with people in really high conflict, we set out the goal. One of my favorite questions is, so what's your goal? When anybody asks me any question, should I do this? Should I do this? I always ask, well, what's your goal? And once I know the goal, it's easy to figure out the way, right?
You say the roles we play in different conversations matter.
So if the goals matter, then every conversation has roles. And a lot of what's funny is there's a role usually in a conversation where there's a speaker. And if there's a speaker, there should be a listener. But sometimes we don't have people ever playing the listening role. We just have 2 people preparing speeches and speaking, preparing speeches and speaking. So one of the things that matters is, are you ever taking the role of listener? And not just listener to respond and retort, but listener to actually be influenced. Are any of us being influenced by what the partner says? So a lot of times after somebody says something, I'll have the listener paraphrase back to them what they heard them say. And you can't fake that very well. So then they have to show that I'm hearing you. And then after I've done that a while, I stop and I ask the listener, do you care what they're saying?
Yeah.
Because if what they're saying is you're never home, you never give me time. If I just turn back into speaker, I always give you time. I was here all Saturday and you didn't even do anything. But if I actually get them to listen, and then I get them to paraphrase, and I get them to be influenced by it, and that they care, it starts to change the conversation. By the way, way more than words. Way more than words, every time. It's powerful.
You say, and this is an interesting one because I feel like, speaking of deference, I feel like we apply this to professional relationships all the time. Like your views, your perspectives of each other. If I go into a professional conversation, I'm going to be wondering what this person thinks of my contribution or knows about my work. We can give that same courtesy to our partner.
Oh, yeah. And one of the problems a lot of us have in our marriage is after we've been burnt a few times, we start to become what's called a negative interpreter. So we start to only look for negative data. And then that just makes sure we're always covered and we're always taken care of. But if I always see my partner with a negative view, then how do you think my words are going to come out? If I think that they don't care, and my view is that they don't care, then how are my words going to come out? So my words are going to be influenced by my view of my partner. And by the way, if I just listen to somebody's words long enough, I can detect their view. I can see how they perceive their partner. And a lot of times if we perceive you as a threat, then the conversation goes ugly. If I perceive you as a partner and we're co-working on this conversation to get somewhere with it, it changes the entire thing.
And with that, your combined history does factor in. I mean, it's nice, you'd like to think that we can just draw a line in the sand and say, now is now, let's move forward. But that history plays a part.
It's huge. If you've told your partner and talked about with your partner 15 times the importance of being on time, and this is now the 16th time, no wonder they're mad. Because there's a history here that we're not addressing. So part of the key to the history is honor it. Don't pretend like this is a new thing. Like what? What? Now you're mad about? No, honor the history. Admit what you need to admit. Apologize. Accept you've got a problem and go start to do something about it. Otherwise, the 50th conversation is just you saying, all the previous 49 have not mattered.
Well, I don't care. Back to care. I don't care.
So our history matters, which also means if we have a good conversation today, that creates a history that we can have a better one next week and a better one next week. So we change the conversations one conversation at a time. And I generally have found going back to fight usually never helps because we don't share the same data back there. But we get present in today's conversation and we turn it into a good one. And then we let that become our history. And then we do another good one today, and that goes under the bridge.
So you're building good history.
And after time, you'll look back and you'll see a nice little pattern.
30 seconds left. You always teach us from a place of values. How do values contribute to a conversation?
Do you know how many times the words are so off because we're not talking from our values? So we're justified to say, hey, I should be able to say that. Well, should you? Like, it's not enough to have to say it, but should it be said? And should it be said that way? So if we can always ask ourselves, what's the most important thing I can do aligned to my highest values and my greatest good to respond to what's being said here? And sometimes the best thing is to just respond with a positive interpretation. He's just tired. He's just tired. And tomorrow we're going to talk about it. And maybe we'll make a rule that you don't ever call me that again. You don't ever use that language with me again.
So benefit of the doubt, but moving forward to a more positive exchange.
And become your highest self. And when you offer your highest values in the conversation, you leave with your highest values and your character intact.
I love it. Things that matter just as much, if not more, than words. Thanks for teaching us and helping us be better. Speaking of teaching, you have enrollment is open now for a new coaching opportunity that starts August 20th.
Yes. So I have a bunch of people that come up to me and say, I want to be a coach. I want to do what you do. They're a therapist or they're already a coach or they just want to coach their family. So we have this program called the Peacemaker Training Program, and we're now launching. It's we invite an entire cohort of people in, and then I train you for a bunch of months and weeks, and we sit down and I teach you everything I know about how to coach high, difficult, conflicted relationships.
How exciting. Some people are just naturally inclined to that. They have gifts and talents. They just need the structure, the scaffolding.
The tools. Then we give you access to be able to sell and work with all of our other content and our products.
Awesome.
So it's a powerful way to become a peacemaker, really. And so it's called Peacemaker Coaching.
Details on your website?
Check it out, MattTownsend.com.
We'll link you from ours. Thanks so much, Matt.
Thanks, Brooke.